ladies and gentlemen, fellow Whovians, kids all over the place. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basil. We are excited today because we are recording live as we normally do, but today's a special day. If you're if you're watching this, I should say, on the Facebook or the Hanging With channel or the Krypton radio channel or my personal page, today is May 19th, and there is a very special date to this. That's going on today. And if you're also on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS Facebook page, you probably know why. But we'll explain a little bit. Let me introduce our team for today that are going to be here helping me in the celebration of a piece of metal that's been traveling for about 8 years now. And we'll explain it to you in just a moment there. First of all, let me bring in Nisha Mulchin. How are you doing, Nisha?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me today.
No, thank you for coming there. Thanks for joining in the celebration. And I got a question. You've been working out in the field. How's it been working out there?
So it's different. I tell people we're settling into where we understand how to surveil everything, you know. And we're at this point some of us are 6 weeks into managing the patients who have had COVID and who are still getting it. So it's not like it was 5-6 weeks ago. The panic from then is very much settled in. So
normalcy is slowly getting there. I managed to go, if you haven't been there yet, I managed to go to City Walk on the day that it was kind of soft opening there, and it looks like a post-apocalypse City Walk. And if anybody who's not familiar with City Walk, it's their kind of version of downtown Disney Springs over at Universal Studios Orlando. And it was nice because a lot of people were out there and they were very appreciative that we came. They were all out in droves coming out there as far as the cast members, and they were waving to us and talking to us and say, if you need anything, let us know there. I had pictures of the temporary, what I've called the quarantine TARDIS, and I took him out there because the other TARDIS is preoccupied with our next panelist, the lovely and talented and director of our show, Melanie Dean. How you doing there, Melanie?
Doing good.
Did you get the microphone?
I was on mute. I'd say you gotta,
she was
try
on
to be on
mute.
mute when you're not talking. That's why you get nice, clean audio.
There you go.
I know, doing very well. I have TARDIS here. Still, kind of the idea was to transfer it over when the convention season hit. After I returned from the UK and took some pictures of Little Boy Blue here, and unfortunately, the convention season hasn't quite happened yet because we had a nice little COVID kind of fun. But until then, he can either be shipped over to you, or we just kind of wait and hang out. Maybe I'll start taking him around to some parks and get some more photos.
I think you just want to hang on to him. Because it's been, 3 months since you've been sitting over there?
I think so. Okay. Since March. Yeah. Well, I got him. Yeah, just before March, we got him. I took him from you on at Space Coast Comic Con.
Yes.
Is where we did the handoff, and he went overseas. He had some fun in the UK, and then, he's back and in quarantine.
There you go. Nice. And he's just sitting there, and we're going to be talking more about that little piece of metal that Melanie has over there. I want to welcome back our team over at the Hanging With Web show. We've got Dina, we've got Sage, and we've got Garrett. How you guys doing there? Thanks for joining up in the celebration for the Traveling TARDIS.
Oh, thanks for inviting us to come on in and hang out with you guys tonight. It was good. It was, we've been looking forward to saying a happy birthday to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS here. So it was great we get to do it on the air.
I know that can you believe it's been 8 years since it's been traveling there? 8? Yes. I'll get more into the details of that. But first of all, as always, we want to start off our segments with the Who Knew News with Dr. Freedom. How you doing there, Brian? Mr. Brian Burress on the YouTube channel.
I'm hanging in there. How about yourselves?
Not bad there, brother. Oh, good. Let's go ahead and bring up the Who Knew News. Let's get it started there. Brian, we'll take it away. Let me get this straight. Oh, I've done it before. He always conks out. I'm going to try to make sure I get it right over here. And for those of you just joining us, make sure that you are chatting with us. Make sure that wherever you're watching us, if you're on the Facebook page, you can chat with us. Just type in as you normally do, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions, anything about the Traveling TARDIS itself there. But now we're going to begin with The Who Knew News with Brian Buress, Dr. Freedom himself. Check him out on his YouTube channel, News from In and Around the Whoniverse. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Anytime news drops, he's going to bring it to you, and he's going to give his take on it. Brian, take it away.
Okay, first up, we have, turns out writer Russell T. Davies revealed 2 star names he thinks that should have replaced David Tennant. Now, what he's referring to is, remember back during the, big fake regeneration scene in The Stolen Earth, when they all had, the hand did weird things, and the next thing you know, it becomes another, David Tennant Doctor. But instead, what he was hoping to do was, imagine what would happen if they had put a temporary incarnation in there. And the 2 names he brought up, which were kind of out there, but I could see it, were Judi Dench and Ian McKellen.
So that would have been amazing.
So just like as a little temporary thing, and then he would have regenerated, they would have regenerated back into David Tennant, if they had gone that route, is what he meant.
I would have loved it.
That would have been pretty weird.
That would have been pretty weird. And folks, again, don't forget to join us in the live chat. Any questions you want to ask any of the 5 team panelists over here with the Hang With Web show, or if you want to talk to Nisha, Melanie, myself, or Brian, talk about any questions you want to bring up, please just let us know there. And our next, what's up on the news there, Brian? What else do we got on the news?
Okay, the unsung heroes of Doctor Who. Fandom Events have announced a brand new lockdown project celebrating the unsung heroes of the television show. Now hosted by Alex Moore, this series of YouTube videos aims to tell the behind-the-scenes story of the members of the cast and crew of whose perspective might normally go untold. Now, the series will be launched with a special live stream at 8 p.m. British Standard Time on the 20th of May. So this will be tomorrow starting. So that'll be about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with 4 episodes featuring Lee Sheward, who is stunt coordinator for Doctor Who and Torchwood, Shauna Harrison, who provided the makeup for Terror of the Vervoids, the ultimate foe in Paradise Towers, Philip Brown, who played the 7th Doctor double in Day of the Doctor, Gareth Milne, who played George Cranley in Black Orchid and stunt doubled for both Michael Cochran and Peter Davison. Other credits include Warriors of the Deep, Caves of Androzani, Vengeance on Veros, and each subsequent episode will go live weeknights at 1800, which I'm assuming is 6 p.m., from the 25th of May, and will occasionally feature as part of their virtual convention's time-space visualizer. So, kind of nice little thing they're going to be doing there, celebrating the unsung heroes of Doctor Who, the people who work behind the scenes.
That's going to be cool there. Now, I know that our team at the Hanging With Show know about virtual cons. And I noticed that Garrett still looks like Gareth and not something out of a Joaquin Phoenix movie. So why is that not happening? When's Amelia going to get with you to turn you into the Joker there, sir?
We're probably a few weeks out yet, although most businesses and things around the state are opening up in small part. We're a couple weeks from wanting to get together because we want to get together with more than just Amelia. We're going to get together with our friends at the Kitchen Killers, and Thomas Carter Rochester is going to come down, and we're actually going to make a whole day broadcast of it. It'll be a little cosplay, a little Kitchen Killers, maybe even a little cooking out by the pool.
Yep, by the mad scientist.
And so we're gonna put it off for probably another 3 or 4 weeks until we're all comfortable getting together. Most of us have been self-isolating this whole time anyway, so if any of us were sick, we would already know it. But we just want to take that extra step, be a little bit cautious.
So, and you still have your poll out there.
And I do. I still have the poll out there this week to see what Joker our audience from CyberCon and over at the Hanging With Web show want to see. And I don't cosplay, so I don't have a preference. But I did put a poll out there to say, hey, what do you guys think would be cool? The last time I checked, had Nicholson was in the lead. We had a couple of Romeros. We have a couple of Ledgers, which I don't think I could pull off. My hair is not there. And we even had a couple of Lados, which I'm really hoping don't win because I don't want to deal with the bling. So, no.
Melody's like, no.
So we're kind of counting right now to see who wins the poll.
The Cesar Romero, that one was interesting because if you go with Jack Nicholson, he's going to have to kill you, and that could be just fun in and of itself.
I was going to say, I think you should do a father and son. I think you should be a Garrett and cosplay Michael should have like
Well,
mini Joker, mini.
Cosplay Michael has two different Joker versions in his repertoire already. He has a Joker Junior, which actually is specifically designed to be junior to Dennis Cutter, the mad scientist Joker.
Oh, okay.
Specifically designed to be Joker for that. For a photo shoot that we wanted. We were going to try to do it this summer, but we're not sure with everything that's going on. But it was definitely by next year, by 2021's MegaCon, we will have done the photo shoot where it is going to be a recreation in cosplay of the storyline Return of the Joker from Batman Beyond. And where Dennis Cutter's Joker will kidnap Robin and turn it into Joker Jr. And with the help of Harley Quinn and some other supporting cast, which would be awesome. So we're planning that out. We were going to try to shoot that this summer, but then the world shut down. So now we're waiting.
I know.
He has two Joker versions already, and I didn't want to interfere with what him and Dennis already have going when they're at conventions. So I just, it's all for fun. It's all for charity. We were able to raise over $2,500 at CyberCon. So as promised,
that's amazing.
If we raised more than $2,000, I promised to be made up as Joker. So I await my artist's judgment, I suppose. It'll be awesome.
And all 2,500. This is the good news about this. All that went into to handling anybody who had issues with COVID-19. Whether they, I guess, can you explain where the money went? Like, where they go to first responders? They go to people who were unemployed.
There is a 501c3 that is specifically designated to deal with, particularly with specific disaster crises. It is called the Center for Disaster Philanthropy. They set up separate funds for a variety of different disasters around the globe, whether it be weather-related or, in this case, a natural biohazard in the form of the virus. So they have set up a response fund that has dedicated. I think that the last time I read, just before CyberCon, they had already donated over $2.5 billion to first responders, hospitals, emergency workers, etc. Specifically, at that point, they were donating most of the funding was going toward buying and purchasing new PPE. As most of our medical professionals like Nisha know, when this first started, the hospitals and facilities and ambulances and all the places that this personal protective gear is used, they had enough to work with what they had on a daily basis, but there wasn't a huge stockpile for them to draw from. So a lot of places with the COVID patients, with the influx of patients that COVID caused, a lot of places simply didn't have enough PPE. And then, of course, in the civilian sector, all of us, when we get nervous, what do? We want to wear masks. We want to do safe things. And so we went out and, people thought, pardon me, please. It's an important message. That's my dinner tonight.
Wait a minute, your dog? What?
Yeah. The lovely dog is appropriately named Mushu. So I believe.
I'm just hoping the dog's not your dinner. That's what I got from that.
Now that he's interrupted the show, I believe I'm in for some Chinese.
Okay, well, speaking of which, I don't know where to go with this segment. So when
I think what happened was Mushu was actually knowing that it was a commercial. It was time for a commercial break. That's what it was.
Time for a commercial break. When we return, we're going to continue with Dr. Freedom and more of the Who Knew News, and we're going to get to your chats. Please stay logged on, tune in, and continue to be part of the legend. Happy birthday to the legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. I'm here with Dr. Freedom Brian Barres on the YouTube channel. I'm here with Director Melanie Dean. I'm here with the lovely Nisha Mulchin, a CEO of Diversely Geek. And I'm here with the Hanging With Web Show radio team. Oh, good grief. We're just having a little celebration going on over here. But as promised, we're going to continue the Who Knew News with Dr. Freedom himself. Take it away there, Brian.
Okay, Black Archive number 43 is out. The latest release in this series looks at the fourth Doctor story, The Robots of Death. Now, this series from Obverse Books explores in detail the making of this story, first shown back in 1977. If you want to get into this stuff, Black Archives are pretty interesting. They do some really good work. You can order these over on Amazon. All right, and lastly for today, Mark Gatiss and Sacha Dhawan will join Doctor Who fans for an adventure in space and time watch-along. Now, apparently this is going to go on this coming Saturday, the 23rd. And that's, of course, they're doing it in honor of November 23rd, but, well, a few months later, or a few months before. And apparently, since this episode first aired back in 2013, the feature-length dramatization features David Bradley, of course, William Hartnell, and, of course, Sacha Dhawan, and, of course, the first director, Waris Hussein. And the film, which was written by Gatiss, who also wrote several episodes of Doctor Who, could have starred, well, I already mentioned that. And, of course, this will happen this weekend at 7 p.m. British Standard Time. So that's about 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Be sure to go look it up and make sure to use the hashtag London 1963, I believe is what they're going with. And that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Dr. Freedom. Again, check him out on the YouTube channel under Dr. Freedom. When the new Who News drops, he drops another video, and he's got a little opinion on it. But let's go ahead and jump on to the chats there. Want to welcome Jen Hogan. Hey, all. There you go, Miss Hogan. What is Jen's job with the Kitchen Killers? I just want to make sure I got the title right there, Gare. What does she do for the Kitchen Killers? I know she's a big, I don't want to say roadie. That's a bad word. Producer. She's just, got no audio over there on the Hanging With show. There we go.
I think I would go something along the lines of chief cook, bottle washer, mistress of the internet.
Okay.
Mistress of the internet. I like that.
We're gonna go with that, Jen.
Okay.
You are now the mistress of the internet there.
That's right.
We also want to welcome Maria. How you doing there, Maria? Hi, all. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining us there. Again, if you want to join into the chat, please go ahead and make sure that you are just chatting away, and we'll bring up your comments up here on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. Jean Elizabeth Glass, Judi Dench, swoon. Okay. So we got one pop. We got
amazing. Seriously, either Dame Judi Dench or Sir Ian McKellen as just a quick as the Doctor, and you know that they would have had fun with it too. It would have it could have been anything. So it's like, oh, this would have been amazing. Sorry,
just a moment.
Trust me, I was geeking out when Sir Ian McKellen did that voice bit for the Snowman. Okay, for the Great Intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh
That was awesome.
No, I'm just. I wish. I don't know if anybody remembers, but Richard E. Grant, who had like who had just like a, I don't want to say cameo, but he had a segment for that Christmas episode. And he, oh gosh, and what was it? What were those bad guys called? The ones without the faces. I can't even think of it. Oh, the Great Intelligence. The Great Intelligence. I thought that was great because I kind of thought that it was his take. He was, for a very short time, for one small episode, he was the Ninth Doctor. He was actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, BBC kind of declared him Ninth Doctor, and then all of a sudden we had a new Ninth Doctor in the form of Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, so, Scream of the Shulka.
Scream of the Shulka. It's an animated one. It stars, gosh, I can't think of her name. I feel so bad, but it stars the woman who played the princess in Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. That's why I remember her from. Gosh, but she's done a whole lot of movies there. I can't think of her name there, but we'll hopefully we'll figure it out later there. Phil Johnson shared on Mercy Comic-Con. Mercy Comic-Con. Can you give us a little bit more about that, Phil? I want to know what that is. Where's Mercy Comic-Con? Does anybody know where that is?
No idea.
No? Let us know more about that, Phil. Thank you so much for sharing it on there. Thank you so much. And Maria says, hi, Robert. Okay. And of course, Lady Gallifrey herself is popping in there. Hello, Gina. How you doing there? Well, thank you so much. And again, if you want to be part of the live chats, please make sure you're just typing in away, whether you're on the Hanging With web show Facebook page, whether you're on Krypton Radio, whether you're over at the Traveling TARDIS, please just go ahead and chat away. Sophie Okanito. Thank you so much there. So Sophie Okanito played the companion for the Ninth Doctor, the Richard E. Grant in Screams of Shulka. So thank you for bringing that up there. Wow. Okay, so we want to celebrate the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS there. But first of all, let me get one more chat in. There's JR Hibbert. Hello, all. Happy Traveling TARDIS Day.
Hey.
I would call it the Day of the Traveling TARDIS. That's what I've been hashtagging it to people because I didn't know what else to call it there. Hey, JR.
Hey, JR.
Hey, JR. I'm just going to say, hey, JR. It's when somebody I can remember and know and connect the dots. I'm like, I know this person. Probably know everybody that's been saying something, but I'm such a name face.
JR, if you can do me a small favor, put up your Instagram link over there, because if you want to see a great person doing his cosplay of the Fourth Doctor, JR has got it nailed down to a science, even with the jelly babies there. So I just want to let people know about, people have been asking me about the biggest question, the question of this episode. What is the Traveling TARDIS? And I cannot for the life of me, there it is. The big hunk of metal that Melanie Dean has in her hand there. And that is where the legend has all started. And when people come up to me and ask me, what is the Traveling TARDIS? I cannot give them a straight answer. It's almost like saying, what is Doctor Who? I can't give them a straight answer to that. And I said, well, if you got 5 minutes, it's going to be an incredible answer because I really don't know how to define it. But the legend had started a long time ago. May 19th, 2012, just 8 years ago, I came up with this idea of going around and taking a TARDIS and, quote unquote, taking it places where the Doctor doesn't take his TARDIS, or at this point, her TARDIS, around the Whoniverse. Today, with over, 33,000 subscribers, thousands of pictures, cosplayers, conventions, this thing has become an icon in its own right, which is, if you told me now what I would have started in 2012, what today would be in 2020, I would not even begin to think. It was just a fun little simple hobby, and now it's got a lot of people following it. And the very first picture, according to Facebook, which I still dispute to this day, but I'll give it to them anyway. The very first picture that Facebook has is this. I literally put it in the fridge, took a picture, because this is where it all started. It was just an idea of like, okay, let me take it places that the Doctor would not normally go to. And I was just like, okay, I took in the picture in the fridge. And the second place I took it was to Publix. And there's a story behind that one too. I think, Nisha, I think you know that story. I'm not, yeah. What I did was I literally saw a spot in the gravy section, and the picture's still up there. I saw a spot in the gravy section. That's where I put it.
It wasn't the Pop-Tart section.
It wasn't. Well, I didn't know the Kitchen Killers back. I didn't even think that song existed back then. And I put it on the shelf and took a picture of it, turned around, lo and behold, there's the assistant and the general manager of the store right behind me, just staring at me. They don't know what the heck to make of it. I don't know what to say. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to get arrested with this hunk of metal thing. And I just took a picture of on their shelf. Well, later on, the Traveling TARDIS would be would start its own legend out there. Let me get to the chats a little bit because I see a few more chats in there. I want to welcome Terry MacGyver. Hey, I know those guys. Yep, you do.
Yeah, you do.
And for the people who were waiting for JR to bring up his Instagram, at the.4th.doctor at Instagram. It's all spelled out at THE.FORUTH.doctor on Instagram there. And we have Alfred Pennyworth. Hey, Terry. Everybody, people are saying hi to each other. Hey, that's fine by me.
The comments are just people saying hi, and they're chatting.
Hey, that's what we want. We want more chat. Now, how everything got started with the panels, I have to owe to the late, great Ken Spivey, who asked me, I don't know if you remember, some of you remember that Ken Spivey, when he, most of you in the Central Florida area know about Timler Fest being in Tampa, and then he had a separate satellite one in Jacksonville. But it all started in a hookah lounge in Orlando, Florida. And he knew that I knew a lot about Doctor Who. So many fine people in several places at once. The internet shall be broken. Yes, it should be. Ken brought me in and he said, I got a panel for you. I only got one. And you go, okay, fine. Sure, I'll do it. Again, this is in a hookah lounge with a pop-out tent that he had for the for the vendors. So literally there's this tent that's going outside where the vendors are all at, and everybody's inside for the panels in the hookah lounge. And the topic he picks for me, which I had no idea why he picked or where he got it from, it was called Doctor Who and Vampires. Something to that nature. Now, you got to think the only thing vampire ever that was in Doctor Who that I am aware about was State of Decay. But the only thing I think he brought on is that it was running with the Vampires of Venice that had just premiered, which doesn't have any vampires. It just has it in the title. And the creatures in there were supposed to be acting like vampires at that time. So I don't know where he got it from or what he did. But from that point on, I started going to panels. And next thing I know, I'm being invited to MegaCon. I'm being invited to Florida SuperCon. I'm being invited to Space Coast Comic-Con to talk Doctor Who. I got to know you guys got a few minutes there. But when it came to this radio show, I have a question for Garrett. Because the radio show didn't start until 2018, just one day prior to Jodie Whittaker. That's how this radio show started. I've been on other radio shows, and the last radio show I did was with Ian Shaw, and he did Gallifrey Stands, which unfortunately he just recently ended the show there. But Ian and I had two different. His idea we were U.S. and U.K. brothers, and having two different perspectives, one from the States, one from the United Kingdom, about podcasting. And unfortunately, just because there was a 5-hour difference, it was just hard to do the podcast, which was, I felt really bad because after a while, we just mutually broke up, and we broke up on good terms. And it wasn't anything bad. It was just because we had a 5-hour difference. He was booking guests in the UK, and our schedules could not work. So I said I had to leave. Now, what I'm going to do is we're up on a hard commercial break, but I want to bring to the attention of Garrett as to why the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS started. Because when I went to Garrett, I didn't go to Garrett. Actually, he went to me. Mm-hmm. And I want to know why exactly and I want you to tell everybody here why you started, why you thought this was a great idea to start the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Exactly there. When we return, folks, just stay logged on, stay tuned in, and please continue to become part of the legend. And thank you for joining us for this 8th anniversary of the Traveling TARDIS. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basil. I'm here with Dr. Freedom, Brian Perez on the YouTube channel. I'm here with our lovely director, Melanie Dean, Pieces of Amelie. You can check her out on her Instagram, and she does videos here. She does live paintings as well, so check her out on her Facebook page. Nisha Mulchin, CEO of Diversely Geek. You got to check her out on her YouTube channel. She's putting out content constantly. Check it out over there. But speaking of content, I want to talk to Garrett and ask the question that I want him to say to everybody, because when he came up to me, I think this show was the first show to become part of the Hanging With Show media family. And I think the first question I think he brought up to me was, and it wasn't even a question, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Garrett, you basically said, okay, it's time. Yeah, it was basically, okay, it's time. But you elaborate more about that. About that.
Well, the one of the greatest privileges of creating and hosting and producing the Hanging With Web show has been that I get to spend a lot of time with some incredibly talented people, and it has become my job over the last 5 years to recognize talent and to make sure that the world gets to recognize that talent on some small way. When Christian and I met, he was with another radio show, and I knew about the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. I knew about the Facebook page, and I knew about the photos that he'd been taking and the places he was traveling to with the Traveling TARDIS. And so when it became, when Christian left his last radio show, his last podcast, he came over and he co-hosted with me for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And anybody who watches the Hanging With Web show knows that having Christian and I on the same set is a lot of fun, but it's redundant. We both do the same job. So, we did that for 6 or 8 months, and I knew that Christian wanted to be back on the air again, but he didn't know quite, if he wanted to, make that leap or not. And so one day we were just sitting here, and we were talking about Christian around the studio, around the house, and I said, you know what, it is time. He needs to be where he's passionate.
Yes.
And I'm going to call him, and I'm going to tell him that we're going to do this. And I called him up, and I said, okay, we need you to be where you are the most passionate, which is in the Doctor Who universe, where you can talk Doctor Who, where you can talk about the geekdom and the convention scene and the things, and in the niche that you're most comfortable in, and you're ready for it. You've been co-hosting with me now for a long time. You co-hosted other shows before. There's no reason why this can't be, the Christian Basil show, where you can't do the show. And he said, well, how am I going to build the show around or whatever? And he and I talked for, I must have been an hour and a half.
I think I said no at first or something like that. I was just like,
he really did. He said,
no.
He said, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do my own. I don't know if I want to do my own. I don't know if I can do an hour by myself. Look, I know every panelist here knows that if you guys just literally shut up for an hour, Christian would just go on and on and on. But he didn't think he could.
Shut it.
He didn't think he could. And he said,
I'm not in agreement. What do you people? Thank you.
How do I build the show? He said. And I said to him, I just looked at him and I said, Christian, you have already built the show. You just don't know it yet. And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, you have the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. You have this Facebook page. At that time, when we were talking, I think there were about 23,000 people already on the page. I said, you have about 23,000 people following this little toy TARDIS around as it takes pictures. Now imagine if you could give them once a week the adventures of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And where have you been? What have you been doing? What are you watching? Are you, when Doctor Who is on, are you watching? What do you think? When Doctor Who is off, what are you watching? How are you filling your time? You can do this. And it really was about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I finally got him to acquiesce to doing 15 minutes. He said, yeah, I'll do 15 minutes during a segment during one of your radio hours. And in addition to our daily internet show, we also have a weekly radio hour over at Krypton Radio. And I said, okay, 15-minute segment. So he did the 15-minute segment. And then I said to him, what do you think? You did that really, really well.
He said, wow, I could talk a little bit longer,
maybe we should do a half hour all by itself.
Was it actually 15 minutes? Were you able to hold him to 15 minutes?
No, he actually, it was probably a little under because he wasn't, at that time, he hadn't found his comfort groove.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay, fair.
So, and about 5 minutes, he was talking about,
I don't believe you.
He was talking about the Traveling TARDIS and talking about where he'd been. And about 5 minutes in, I had to kind of yank at questions to try to get him to talk more. But once he got going, as Melanie knows, and I know as Nisha knows, once he got going, it was like, okay, time's up. We got to go. And so after the show, I said, what do you think? How'd you do? And he said, I think I did pretty good. I said, I think you did great. I think we should do a half-hour segment, all of you. And so that's how we did it. I got 15 minutes out of him. Then we did a half hour. And then finally I said to him, okay, you did 15 minutes, you did a half hour. Next week you should put together a team. We should have an hour-long show.
I said, I think I could probably do an hour.
And he said, I think I can probably do that. And so that's really where the radio show came from, was just, it was a constant thing of trying to show, again, it's a privilege to be able to do what we do. We get to cover entertainers, artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, all at different places in their career. And in Christian's case, we got to catch him in between things. And we got to be able to say to him, look, this is what you do. You're going to do it. You're going to do it at conventions. You're going to do it in the hallway, at work. You're going to do it in the car. You're going to talk to anybody who will talk Doctor Who with you. There's no reason you shouldn't do it on the air.
Exactly.
And once we convinced him of that, well, I think we are 80 episodes in. Is this 80 episodes or so, Christian?
We're up to, I think this is actually, we're closing on 80.
Yeah, so 80 episodes later, aren't you glad that I'm a smart guy?
No.
Yes, right.
Because he got
jumping in. I know we have a commercial going to come up sometime soon, but
yeah,
Garrett, I had been telling him for a long time that he needed to do this.
It is when you find something you're passionate about, and you find something that you have a gift for doing. And this is out there, everybody out there on Facebook, everybody out there on YouTube, everybody that's watching the show tonight. You find something that you're passionate about, you find something you have a true gift for doing. It is a waste, a shame not to try to pursue it, whether it's as a hobby, part-time, full-time, however you have to pursue that passion. It's in you. You're going to do it anyway. You're going to annoy your friends doing it. So you might as well.
That's what Melanie's for.
And it's going to happen. If I wasn't doing this, I would be sitting in my living room, inviting neighbors over and talking to them about literature and art and films and the things I'm passionate about. And they would be bored out of their mind, and they would sit there and they would go, "Oh God, here we go again." Or I can come out here on Facebook and bore 1 billion people. It's just as easy.
Yes.
And and
But not these 4 folks.
Yeah. See? And so and this is the thing. This is how your friends get out of having to watch the show. They're on it. So see, your friends will join in. They don't have to watch you because they're already here. It's great.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, I think what was it that you said to me, and it was almost salesman-like. You when we were having the discussion, you were like stopping me in the corner, and it did boost my ego just a little bit there. So I'll say that did help. But you came up to me and go, "If I don't use you, however you say it, if I don't use you, I have untapped potential."
Yeah,
and I need you.
I have wasted talent. If we do not find a way to capitalize on what you're passionate about, what you want to do, then that is a waste of talent. And it's something that on a personal level, I'm averse to wasted talent. And we were, we were sitting together, we were doing stuff together. You were working with hanging with Web Show Radio Hour with me. We were working on other, HWWS properties. And I'm sitting there looking at this guy that, you should have your own show. You should be doing this. You have a following. You have everything you need. That's just wasted talent. If we don't use it, I should be shot for wasting a valuable resource that I have. Fortunately, after many hours of chatting and talking and going back and forth, you acquiesced and decided that you'd have it. And here it is, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, episode I think 80. I'm pretty sure
we're closing it. We're closing in fast on 80.
I have 079 popped in my head. I've already typed that number, I think. So, I mean, and so here you are. You are 8 years, 80 radio shows, hundreds, if not thousands, of photographs in unusual places with unusual. I think one of the very first ones that I saw online was a picture that you had taken, and you had got a great angle on a photo you had taken on the beach, and you had just the perfect angle of coming around the TARDIS and seeing the waves come up, and it was similar, it was a beautiful picture, and I thought, man, that is just awesome, and and when I first saw it, I think there were already, this was years ago, obviously, but there were already people who had liked and shared and were sharing that photo around. And I thought, there's a resource here. And it's because of your passion that you can talk to so many different people about the subject. Because there are very few people out there in any fandom that can claim an expertise, because everything changes so fast. And when you're talking about a show with a history as storied and long as Doctor Who, there are very few people who can say, I followed this show all the way from here to now. And you were one of the few people I knew that could do that and have a conversation with people and say, oh, well, I like the third Doctor. Before meeting you and before being on the convention scene, I can honestly tell you, I couldn't tell you who the third Doctor was. I grew up in my day. I grew up with the fourth Doctor. I grew up with Tom Baker. But I couldn't tell you who the other Doctors were or how that worked until I met you, and listening to you talk about it, I thought there's a place here. And I know Dr. Freedom and Melanie and all of the great people who have come on the show over the past 2 years that you've been doing the radio show. Over those past 2 years, I know all of them have met you at different times in your journey and knew that about you. I think it was a surprise, and I know Melanie says the same thing, and Nisha. it was a surprise that you didn't know that. That you didn't know that this is where you should be.
I think it was just because I've been doing it with somebody else for so long, and I would go and do it with somebody else that then you said, why don't you run? I'm like, no, I'm good with that. But let me, we're about to hit a commercial break. Let me tell you a little story for the folks who are watching on the YouTube or the on live on the Facebook page there. This particular picture almost cost me, well, it did cost me $50. I will explain why. At that time, we didn't have cell phone cameras and all that stuff. We had the handheld cameras. And if you notice in the background, there is that big wave coming up right behind it, which I underestimated. So I had a choice between either saving the camera or watching my TARDIS go under. And guess what? The TARDIS won. Luckily, the camera had a chip in it. So I managed to get it out, but it cost me a good $50 for that particular picture there. It's a picture of, if you get a chance, you'll see it on the Facebook page there for those folks who are listening to the radio show. But it's the one that's famous for being in the ocean, and I put it there, and I didn't realize the rogue wave that was going to come in and wash it out like a boat on Deadliest Catch there. But folks, we are on a hard break. When we return, we're going to continue our discussion with the legend and how it all started with Melanie and Nisha, who joined me later at conventions and on this radio show. And then we're going to get the Dr. Freedom, too. When we return, please stay logged on. Stay tuned in. Don't forget to chat with us and continue to become part of the legend. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. I'm here with Dr. Freedom, Byron Barres, Melanie Dean, our director. We have the Hanging With Web Show radio team. We got Sage, we have Dina, and we have Garrett. And we also have Miss Nisha Mulchin, the lovely Nisha Mulchin from Diversely Geek there. And for those of you just showing up in and watching our show, I got a little treat for you. This is one of our favorite clips that everybody had seen. Yeah. This is like going through the photo album there. There are a bunch of Star Wars in here, but that was one for people who are not watching. It's the Millennium Falcon over at Galaxy's Edge with the Traveling TARDIS. This one was at a convention. It's hard to describe, but it's Rey and Kylo Ren fighting it out. It just happened to be, and there's no filters on this picture. It came out the way that you saw it right there. It just came out that way. And another picture that has been very popular with the Traveling TARDIS is around Halloween. This came out when I was doing a tour, and it just so happened that the girl happened to be at the window at the right time, and the angle of the TARDIS happened to be right there at the same time too. And then I darkened it up out there. But there's so many pictures, so much time, so much wonderful stuff that would have been. Oh, and I'm just going to throw this chat in because Maria says I would have saved that TARDIS too. So yeah, Maria, I don't doubt there. Oh, and Candace, welcome. Candace Rochette, welcome. And hashtag replay. Okay. Well, folks, welcome again to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. I want to continue my discussion with the panel out here. Welcome to the 8th anniversary of the Traveling TARDIS. When it traveled, its first traveling began May 19th at 2012. Today is May 19th, 2020, 8 years, so happy birthday. And Melanie and Nisha had joined me later onto the show. Melanie, you were one of the first people to be co-hosts on the show there. Nisha, were you in there, or were you in a little bit later?
Just a few, like 4 months later.
What did you guys think when I brought you online there? And I'm going to start with Melanie because she was the director and she was there from the very beginning, from the very, very beginning. What did you think was going to happen? Did you even think that this was going to be the way it is right now, or is this like?
No clue. I didn't know what I was doing. I just figured, okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn on a microphone. And we're just going to start talking about Doctor Who. We're going to do times every 13 minutes. And we're going to see what happens. All right. That was it. That was our conversation in the middle of MegaCon or Tampa Bay Comic-Con or something like that. And I was like, all right, sounds good. Just keep going. Like, all right, we'll do it. It was very low key. It was just, this is kind of the idea I'm having. Do you want to help? And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. So and it's just no pressure. It was like no pressure, nothing like that. We're just going to see where it goes since we're at conventions anyway, and we could just talk each other's ears off for hours on end. Why not record it? All right. That's awesome, let's do it. And it coincided with the Jodie taking on as the 13th Doctor, so it was going to be plenty of stuff to kind of chit chat. So at first it was we're just trying to get our footing and figuring out what we're going to do and bring people on. It was all right. But then we knew that we'd have at least episode reviews. So we'll just kind of play it along. And then for anybody, all of our listeners who've kind of grown along with us as we've, recorded, they've seen, us just kind of going, okay, we're building and building and building, something great.
And Nisha, when you joined up, what was your expectations and what was the reality when you became a panelist and also a panelist over at the conventions? Was it everything that you expected, or you were like, okay, this is a little different, just like Melanie had?
Well, you and I had been doing this before.
Yeah.
You joined us for ours with the prior show, and I joined you for yours with the prior show. So I had always told you, Christian, you know that I believed in you, and I believed that you could bring this quality.
I know.
To this content and quality to this discussion.
Before Garrett, there was Nisha nagging me, going like, "Why don't you do this?"
A little bug in his ear for a long time, telling him, "Bring the quality of content to the world. You have a lot to say. Why not do this? Why not bring it to this?" And when you did this show, I was like, "Okay," and I want to be there. I was like, "I'm going to pull you by the ear because I'm going to be there with you to do this." I didn't know what to expect, but I knew because this was a great team. Thankfully, I met Melanie through this and Dr. Freedom, who are now my really great friends. It's enriching me more. So I couldn't have expected more than that. The fact is, we've grown our Whovian family, but we've really grown the depth of the content. Yeah. Honestly, we really, truly have. We've gone in places that you've allowed me to share with you guys a lot more than I think that we thought we were going to go, So no expectation, just wanted to go for the ride, really enjoy it. So,
well, one of the things that I wanted to make sure for people who were watching or listening to the show, and this came up from one of the conventions I was at on the panel. I've told this story before, but I wanted to make sure people kind of aware from the foundations of this. It started from two women over at Florida SuperCon. And I had a panel over there. We were talking about it was the premiere. It was going to be Jodie was coming up, and people were still kind of on the fence. And at the time, it started in its infancy, but bullying on the internet, bullying on Twitter started to happen. And it was kind of a scary thing that was going on over there. There were two women. We did our thing. We were talking about Jodie Whittaker, what we thought. We had some clips and things from Jodie. There's actually a clip right now. You can pull it up on YouTube. Christopher Eccleston and Jodie Whittaker performing together on stage, and that said this will be probably the only time you'll see these two in a multi-doctor doctor. At least for Christopher Eccleston. So we were just joking around that, and at the end of the panel, as people were walking away, they were geeking out with us, and these two women were standing in the back room, and they hadn't even approached. They just looked like they were waiting, and then people started to leave, and the two women came up and approached me. And one of the questions we asked during the panel was, "What did you think about Jodie Whittaker? Are you guys happy or sad about that?" And the two women came up and go, "We didn't want to raise our hands because we were not happy that Jodie was taking over. We don't like the idea." And I felt bad because I was like, if we're going to be into this universe, and if we're going to be doing this, and if we're going to do the radio show, I want to make sure that everybody has a say in whatever their opinion is. It's their opinion. It's never going to be taunted. It's never going to be vilified. In essence, we were going to be the anti-Twitter of Doctor Who. We were going to let everybody express their opinions, say what they want to say, without retort or without insult. And if anything, if there is a disagreement, they can just walk away and just move on. But I wanted to make sure when we started The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS that everybody, and if you've seen the dynamics of the people that we have on the show, ranging from so many opinions, that that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be the guy who had the one show that had like 4 people who agreed with him. Go ahead and have them on. And what's the point? Then you're just having people agree with you all the time. I wanted to get the dynamics, and we've had some dynamic panels. We've had some dynamic reviews where I would come in and say, okay, here's my topic. And Melanie would say something like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Or Nisha would say something like, oh, I'm not expecting that. Or Brian would say something. And I think it was The Timeless Children. I've already mentioned this. It was just like I was ready to pack up and go, no, I'm not going to go through with this anymore. But then Kevo was on the panel. I think Dr. Freedom, you were in there. And and Melanie, I think you were there too.
Yep.
And I just I was ready to pack up, but I heard what you guys had to say. And I'm still not really satisfied with the episode. But in the long run, I said, you know what? I'm going to go with this. Let's see where it goes. I'm not going to abandon ship yet. First of all, I'm a Whovian, and I think, whoever's the showrunner, I think we should try to support if we can. If we don't have to like the way the show is going, but I still love my show that I grew up with, during PBS time. And I'm hoping that this is what the reflection of the show is. That's why we've had episodes, like you said, Nisha, with anti-bullying and diversity and things that I don't think that get enough attention in other shows where they're just mostly reviewing there. But I want to bring Dr. Freedom, Brian Buress. Oh no, I'm sorry, Nisha. What'd you have to say? Or Melanie, I'm sorry.
I was just going to mention how many con survival guides we've done.
Yes.
Con survival guides, and that was pre-COVID. Wait till we do post-COVID.
The COVID.
Lord, this will be fun.
I'm writing the manual for everyone.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's going through a training before we get out there, people. Okay.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to let people know. We are going to. We're going to have at least for the staffing over here. I'm going to try to provide as much safety as we can for the team out there. We're definitely going to have hand sanitizers. They're going to be special white. What's that?
You were going to ask Brian a question. I tripped over it, so I was going to say.
No, that's
Brian's question. We only have like 2 minutes left of the show. Brian's question.
Okay. Well, Brian. No, I want to bring Brian over here. Brian, because I needed a news girl, and Sage was it for quite some time. And then no. You were great.
It wasn't
Sage.
exactly a question. I was just saying. Like I said, if you think that's going to bake your noodle, of course you do know the series. The series 12 scripts are out now. You're talking about the Timeless Children. Remember at the end we see Tecteun walking off into the light, and there's those two Time Lords standing there. Mm-hmm. Turns out they were named in the script. Those two Time Lords are Rassilon and Omega, that are standing there waiting as Tecteun's walking out. That's Rassilon and Omega standing there. So that ought to make your news.
That's an episode. I've got strong opinions here. Let's do this.
That's going to make Mackenzie Flores super happy to hear that.
Yeah, that came out this week. I forgot to mention it. Yeah, the Series 12 scripts are out. And apparently, it is listed in the script. Those two are Rassilon and Omega.
That's a whole nother episode.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, we're about to get a hard commercial break. I'm going to leave a question for after the commercial. But Brian, when you came online, what were you expecting? And before you answer that question, I'm going to have that after the commercial because I got one more chat that came up over here. Niles Perry, who runs the Goofy Geek page and the Goofy Who page, wishes us and the Traveling TARDIS amazing birthday. Yes, sir.
I don't want to, pop your balloon or anything, but your director's head exploded. Do you want to maybe take a look at your private chat?
Yes.
Director,
we're going to commercial now. When we return, please.
What's on your wall, Melanie? Christian.
It's the end of the show? Really?
It's the end of the show.
You lost count of the bloody segments again.
Again, you mentioned it. How clocks work. What I do propose to everybody is what we can do is we will wrap up this show. This will be our full show, and if we would like, we could come back and have bonus content because for our broadcast on Krypton Radio, we have to be at an hour. That's it. However, we can do some bonus content after the fact. But Christian, you might want to wrap this as it's the end of the show.
Get it right this time.
Your brains off the wall.
No, but I got to work with that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the 8th birthday of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS sitting on Melanie Dean's desk. I'm hoping to be traveling with one more time around the Whoniverse there. I want to thank, as always, and especially today for being the celebration couldn't happen without the love and support of all the fans out there. Dr. Freedom, Melanie Dean, Nisha Mulchin, and the great team over at the Hanging With Show, and everybody out there. Shut up. I can see you laughing, Brian. Please continue to stay logged on, tune in, and happy anniversary to the Traveling TARDIS. Thank you, folks. You have a great day. Please continue to stay safe and become part of the legend. Thanks, Cosplay Michael.
Yeah. I have our time. So if you'd like to say, hey, here's some bonus content.
There's some bonus content, yes.
So,
yes.
So go ahead and wrap up now. Go ahead. Do a talk up and go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Brian, I just want to ask, what were you think? When you came in here, what did you think of everything that happened here? What were you expecting? What was going on? Did you expect to be the news girl afterwards?
Oh, I love it.
This man is completely insane. That was my first impression.
Really?
No. No, I didn't count on becoming the news girl. It just kind of happened. It's like it's nothing new to me. I do this like all the time anyway. So it's like, okay, I can do that.
I am very happy that Brian took on the news girl. He pronounces things a lot better than I do.
Also, I'm kind of here to fact check Christian.
See?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And
I got Melanie doing that.
Bonus content on this. A lot of people don't realize this. Sage and Garrett and Dina are very, very busy people because they're running the Hanging With show. Mm-hmm. So they might not be able to watch the episodes of Doctor Who when we're going. So when Sage would jump on and do the news and blah, 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 Krishna would start the show and then go, hey, Sage, what do you think about the episode? And she's already said that she hasn't seen it and is like going...
Yeah,
he's looking over here and I'm like...
It's an amazing thing because... doing the Hanging With Web show, we are, we're going, literally, this is our everyday job. We get up in the morning and we come to work and we do the Hanging With Web show and run the network. And there's, now there's 6 shows and the 6 shows, the 3 radio shows that we have out there and a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week radio network that plays independent music. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And what we tend to do is wait till like one weekend day and binge whatever we have. Like we'll make a list on the whiteboard and it'll say, these are the things we want to watch this week. So for something like Doctor Who, we'll say, okay, this is what we're going to do. When there's 6 episodes, we're going to sit down and do like 3 hours of Doctor Who. Yes. And then we'll watch it. And of course, when you're binging something, you're in and you're out. So you're not paying as close attention as somebody who's got a notepad. And so, and then Christian will, like 6 weeks earlier, Christian will say, what did you think of that episode? And we'll just look at each other like,
Right.
I think it's in my TiVo. That's what I think. Anything else?
And I will say that out of all the Doctor Who that's out there, I always loved The Class. And then, so we binged through that whole thing and I loved that. And then they discontinued it. And I was just like, what? So then I got really mad and I didn't want to watch any of it.
It was funny. It was like watching that was funny because it was like watching Doctor Who get into the OC.
Yeah. That was so much fun.
Okay.
Well,
That's true.
That's
actually very aptly put. Very good.
It was, because I mean, the U.S. has so many. We have so many of those teen to college dramas, and then so when I read the synopsis of that one, I remember thinking, oh my gosh. They put Doctor Who in the OC or in what was the other one they had years ago, but Dawson's Creek, one of those. And I'm like, they put Doctor Who in the middle of a teen drama. This is going
90310.
And I laughed my butt off most of the time because I was like, oh God, because the Doctor doesn't, have with the Doctor that we all know from the show, doesn't really have time for all the hijinks. So the idea of the Doctor's people, the Doctor, surrounding being this universe. Being stuck in high school was just like, God, that's torture. And then, of course, you got to the last.
I acknowledge the angst.
The last episode where they actually have the Doctor appear really quick and come in and save the day. And I was just like, oh God, that killed the actor, that killed the director, that killed everybody. Everybody's like, oh God, we have to put him in the middle of this. We have to drop the actual Doctor in here. And I thought, oh my God, they probably all had heart attacks. And you guys were doing like ancillary. You were doing a show once on ancillary shows, spin-offs, Sarah Jane Chronicles, and all the other stuff. And I thought, oh my God, I want to see a bunch of middle-aged people try to talk about class because that was designed like I know. I was so excited because I was like to watch a bunch of middle-aged people discuss this show that was clearly targeting, British teens, and you're thinking, oh God, and because all the show audience now is all middle-aged, for the most part. It's people who grew up with the older Doctor Who shows or in syndication, PBS, as Christian said, and then picked up a new show. But there's not a huge teen, early 20-somethings group yet. And so that show targeted those people. And I thought, I wonder what the actual Whovian fan thinks of a show targeting somebody that's literally half their age. And so watching you guys
lasted one season. That's how they got
it. Just seemed to me like the BBC targeted that show for termination because well, the thing was they finally aired on BBC Three, right, which is their fledgling online thing. But then when they finally aired on BBC One, anyone want to take a guess when they aired it?
Oh God.
Monday nights. 2 episodes at a time at 11 p.m.
Wow.
11 p.m.
So,
why would you do that?
So think about it.
Exactly. They wanted it killed, I think.
Your target audience is asleep.
Or they're
exactly
awake.
Yeah. But they're not staying up to watch
it.
Yeah, but BBC America did something similar to that because I don't think did they put it behind Doctor Who or something like that?
They put it behind Doctor Who.
They put
because
it behind.
I remember that always the thing before, and that during a commercial break for Doctor Who, they were saying now you can watch. Here's a snippet of Class, and they kept trying to push it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, behind Doctor Who, so Doctor Who was at that point it was from 8 to 9.
Mm-hmm.
So on a Sunday night,
you missed your target altogether.
Yeah.
The U.S. shows do this all the time. They'll spin something off, and they'll spin it off for a specific demographic, but then they'll target the existing fan base, thinking that we're all going to do it. Like, hey, we're all going to go check this out. You're not going to get most of us, like for something like Class, you're not going to get most of us to stick around for a season of that show. It's not targeted toward us. It's not us. We don't care about how aliens are messing up teenagers' love lives. I have 4 children. I've messed up enough love lives. I'm the alien now. So,
like I said, I wasn't a big fan of Class, but I would have tuned in for season 2 for only one reason. I want to know why the Weeping Angels have taken a bunch of alien teachers to hijack a private school in the middle of London.
Yeah.
What is the galactic domination point there?
I were told there was not going to be any Weeping Angels or anything from
the answer to that question can only be found in a Harry Potter novel.
Well, there's probably some fan fiction somewhere that people have now written, and there's probably stuff that's really decent out there that you'll probably have to find it. But good luck sifting through the suspect things.
Angels.
I didn't mind Class. I thought it had a lot of potential. I just think exactly what you said, Brian. I think they wrote it to fail, honestly, because they didn't write it to have any longevity of the story arcs. But they had at least 3 of those kids really had strong personalities, and I thought could have gone somewhere.
Yeah, there was just a lot of them. They just seem to have dropped the ball on, April, I believe, who was the young hacker. And what happened to the hacker aspect of it? It just disappeared. Yeah.
It just didn't know where to put its footing because. Well, first of all, let me put in 2 chats there. JR says that the Rachel show is going an hour won't be enough. You'll end up 2-hour show every week. No, JR, I love you, but no way.
Post production staff, no.
Did you see Melanie's? She's like
Melanie's face.
At the end of the day, sorry.
It did.
No, that literally happened Saturday. We had a 45-minute interview. We went 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, it did.
But Class did not. I didn't know where the focus was with Class because the first question I said was, "Well, why do we call it Class?" And nobody could answer the question. It's like the whole title is called Class. What is it about? And I thought maybe what they should have done is focus more on the Quill character, interacting with the kids that they learned from each other. There's the Class. They didn't know where to go. They took Quinn, put her on a different dimension with a makeshift TARDIS, with her eye gouged, with what's that David Bowie character, the Ziggy Starlight eye patch. They had one. They were focusing on the kids, and they said,
"Well, they had to do that because of Catherine Kelly's pregnancy."
Yeah, but it just didn't seem like they were focused on what they had no focus. And the kids,
what happens is you get network
Yeah.
executives who say, "Hey, there's this trend," and in the case of BBC, they were looking at trends that were global, and at that time there was a trend in the U.S. in particular of marketing to that
Right.
like teetering on the between teen and 20 something age bracket, and we had 36 shows that were essentially 90210 for the late 90s, early 2000s, and they just revamped this idea of this age bracket being a big deal, because back in the day it was a huge deal for television audiences. So it made bankable sense to try to launch something. But Brian hit the nail right on the head. They launched it. Nobody knew exactly what they were targeting or why they were in this trend. And so the things that would have been important to the viewers that watch those kind of shows, those things got dropped. And the things that were important to Doctor Who fans, those things were never there because they weren't designed for that audience. So they just sort of dangling storylines and characters who were not fully developed, who could have been very easily developed in some cases. A few lines of dialogue or a good scene between characters would have done the trick. They just, as I think Brian and Nisha said, they just sort of designed the show not to succeed, because they were designing a show that was supposed to be crossing genres between the teen drama and the science fiction, and they didn't do it well. We had the same problem in the U.S. What was the show a couple of years ago? They launched a show here that was a science fiction teen drama. It was about Star-Crossed was the name of it.
Oh yes,
it was called Star-Crossed. It was about two kids
that had great potential,
kind of seniors in high school age, and one was alien and one was human, and there was a whole thing. And they developed the first few episodes really, really well as a teen drama. The kids meet. There's the sci-fi background. And then they step up the sci-fi, and they don't know what to do with the characters they developed for the teen drama. And so they just kind of fell by the wayside. It's really hard, and I give every writer credit for trying it. It's really hard to take two specifically different genres, mash them up, and get a really good product. And especially when you have other things in the background, like scheduling. When do you schedule this? Is it a teen thing? Does it happen at 7 to 9? Or is it an adult thing, like a Doctor Who thing that can happen from 9 to 11? Because you can't do the teen thing from 9 to 11. Those kids are either out with their friends or in bed. So they can't watch anymore. And mom and dad, we watch 2 or 3 episodes and we're like, oh, that was cute. And then we turn it off. We come back when it's in syndication. So
in the Whoniverse, I love the fact that, if you can't tune in to the show, or if you want to see something different, that Big Finish has all of the audio stuff.
Yeah, I do love the fact that
continue the storylines there.
You guys awesome. Work in a place where there's a huge extended universe between Big Finish, the spin-off things like Sarah Jane, and of course Torchwood, which is yay. That's my favorite, by the way.
Somebody in the chat mentioned isn't Torchwood?
Yeah, that was Maria, and just for our friends who just happen to be still online at the moment, we just received word that Ruby Rose has exited Batwoman ahead of this series too.
Yeah, where did that article come from?
That came from Variety.
Variety. Wow.
So I'd say
everywhere. I was reading about it while we were on here. It's absolutely everywhere right now.
Yeah. If it had been one of these like little off sites, like out of nowhere, I'd say okay, there's baloney. But this is right out of Variety. So.
Her sister will take over. Her sister.
Which sister? Which sister?
Her sister?
Yeah, no.
Oh, no, Alice can't take over.
The stepsister? Well, I mean,
the stepsister.
I think that would be a good idea. I would be all for it, but the fandom might go nuts if they tried to do that.
I don't know. I mean, they built a very unique universe. For being inside the CW's universe, Batgirl lives in its own little world of Gotham, and they built a very interesting dynamic in that show. And I don't know that it works necessarily without Ruby.
Well, you can't switch up actresses. I don't think that would. I think everybody would have a massive outcry. You have to completely change.
Because the character was built around her and her personality and the way she does things. To try to switch that up, it's hard to do. I mean, literally, it's any other character almost can be replaced easier than a character who's
the main character
of a show who's written around the actress that's cast for that.
Yeah.
So they write that character's personality.
Absolutely.
Really, really. I mean, obviously, Brian, didn't you say they're planning on a season 2, just no Ruby?
Yeah.
So
the show had already been renewed for season 2. Like I think it was like right around the time it even began airing. So they're already guaranteed 2 series. So why she's exiting now is beyond me.
Cash.
Well, apparently, they've already recast.
You see, I feel bad for the writing team because now, instead of carrying on any of your existing storylines, you're going to have to spend your first few episodes reintroducing probably a new lead.
Yeah.
Find a story, for, wait a minute, now we got another Batwoman. How do we explain that?
Well,
I'll probably just recast flat. They'll just make it another cake.
I'm not hugely familiar with the Batwoman comic series.
Right, I was going to tell you, this is actually a character that's modeled after the series that came out in the last five years.
Okay.
It's a completely different character from what the origins were. And the storyline that's in the CW series actually follows it pretty well. And even in terms of Batman's largesse and what happens to him, it's going to be very difficult because this character has a long life to it. So I think they're just going to recast the character, the person who plays the character. Yeah. It would be very difficult because this story arc is a 5-part story arc, and they just started it. So you can't hit it like this because you have 4 more full storylines that are written into the comic book series. So it's going to be very difficult to bring someone in.
I'd love to know from all of you creatively, if you found yourself having to cast a new actress in the same exact role and you had time before the end of your season, how would you manage to explain that before next season? I'm a big fan of the way soap operas do it. Oh, they get you in an accident or something. When you come out, you look different.
Yeah.
I don't like that whole, face surgery.
What I like about that is that they at least make an attempt to explain why this person is this person.
It's different.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. At least an attempt. My favorite thing, though, is when they bring the original actor back about 10 years later and they have to play opposite each other, because that's always fun, because that happens in that world, too, all the time. My mom used to watch soap operas, so I got to see that happen. Like, I had 4 characters. They were recast. They explained it with like plastic surgery or whatever, and then like 5 years later, the original actor came back, and you were like, "What just happened? Was there like the plastic surgeon used rubber man stuff?" So anyway, so I'm just curious how you guys would deal with that problem, because I know you're all very creative.
I would just be recasting just okay, we're going to this next second season and not even just mentioning it. If you can, okay, I would let me put it this way. Did you ever watch on Amazon The Tick, the newer version of The Tick?
I've seen a couple.
I saw the first episode or 2. Yeah.
Okay, so even though they still used Serafinowicz for all of them, the costume kept changing. So every new kind of season, it's like the costume is drastically changing. And they just kind of worked it in as what's going on. And they had like chunks of his old costume. He's like, I'm molting. And just, I mean, it was such a dumb way to put it. And you could tell clearly we got a new costume, but I'm molting. So it was like, and they've done that with other characters where new actors come in where you could do it almost, if you do it with a wink and a nod of being funny, it works. I don't know if you can do that comedy route of this.
So they actually just finished up in January, February. They finished up the Crisis on Infinite Earth series throughout the whole CW series line. So this would be their opportunity to use that story arc to say
an alternate Ruby Rose.
That they had the ability that when they came back, even though in the way it was all filmed throughout through the 6-part series, it remained Ruby Rose. They still have a possibility because you still have Lex Luthor who has who ends up having power in the new.
good point.
And we have actually, I think Nisha's onto something, because we have actually seen proverbial doppelgangers that have dropped into Earth 1. Now they're against.
Yeah, and they toggled on Earth 99 that there might be some possibility of bringing that back in Supergirl. So that could be their out, because they already have a story arc. They already have a plot line that's a plausible one, because Infinite Earths is also an overlapping arc. So they have an opportunity.
I don't mind to cut you off, the guys, but I got to run. I apologize. So we're going to end this. Thank you all for joining us there.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm only going to say this because this just showed up into my email. Traveling TARDIS is still confirmed for Tampa Bay Comic-Con, and we have a schedule.
That's what we have.
So I'm going to end the broadcast there, folks. Thanks for joining me.
Had confirmed that they are still a go for July. So check their Facebook page, read all the things that they are having prepared for COVID. Keep in mind, it is July. We still have 2 months to go. So keep an eye on it. Let's see what happens.
Everybody, have a great day. Stay safe. And again, become part of the legend. Thank you. Happy anniversary.
Hey, guys.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Bye.
Woo!